Hello and welcome back to Globesweeper Hex Puzzler. Today I was going to start off with Snake, my cursor, Snake, and then the box, but I think I'm gonna flip that around because Snake is a little bit of a tricky level, but it's not overly lengthy, whereas the box is a little bit of a tricky level, but it's also kind of an endurance one. It's a very, very lengthy level that takes a while to do, so let's start with that one. And then if that doesn't take more than like 20 minutes to do, then maybe we'll do Snake, but maybe this deserves a video of its own. We'll see. Let's get into it. As you can see, this is a very, very big level, and it has line clues. Therefore, press the X button on your keyboard, and then we can more easily keep track of all the lines, and then unmark each line as we complete them, just to know which ones are done and which ones aren't. I find that's a lot simpler than marking them one by one when you need to look at them and stuff like that. So this is a level that has line clues and area clues and group clues. So it adds in group clues into the lines and some of the areas as well. And that's kind of the whole thing. And also, this is probably going to be one hell of a scatterbrained one to go through. It's going to be hard to follow along because this one, you kind of have to go and break into it many different ways constantly. You can start in certain ways, like right here we can start, and we probably will, but then you can also like determine things here, and you can determine things like in, which one is it? Like this line, and in this line. There's many lines you can determine stuff in right away, and you will have to. So because of that, it's very hard to like come up with one sequence to do it in. So I'll try and explain it as best I can and try to do it in a relatively organized manner, but let's begin by looking at this line here. This line here, same clue on both sides, and that is that we need 3 groups in this line. Now, we have 5 tiles, and how many individual groups can you have in this line? To have an individual group, we have to have at least 1 tile, followed by, if we want to add another group, if we just have 1 tile or more, then we have 1 group. To add another group, then we need to separate 1 tile and then add a different one. So the most we can have here is 1 tile here marked, then a removed tile, then 1 tile marked, then a removed tile, then 1 tile marked for 3 individual groups. And that is what we need to do. You can also, if you really want to think about it, like, if we look at this line here, we need 7 groups, and oh boy, we have so many tiles. How many groups could we possibly have in here? If we count the tiles, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 tiles. If you divide that by 2, and then round up to the nearest integer, then 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, and then 7.5 rounded up is 8. So it's possible to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 individual groups within this line. So we can't say anything here right now, but that's just a good thing to keep in mind if you're ever wondering, like, how many groups can I fit in these available tiles? But that only applies if it's one string of lines, one string of tiles, because if you have something in the way here, then it alters and stuff. But anyway, let's get into it now. So, 3 groups, as we said, we have to mark these 3 tiles and separate the gaps between them to have 3 separate groups. Now we have a 2 here that's done. There's gonna be a lot of solving individual, just like normal tiles, and I probably won't go into detail about that, because these normal tiles you should be able to solve by now. But now we removed 3 tiles, so now if we look at this 7 group again, in this line we can at most have 3 groups, 3 separate groups. And then over here, we need to have 4 more groups, so 1, space, 2, space, 3, space, 4. So we actually need to use every single tile available here with 1 gap in between each one. So we get this, separate these 2 out, mark all of these, and separate these out. And this line is now done, so we can unmark it. This 6 here, we can just mark, and then go up here to this 2. That's done. And the 3 there. Now this 3 is done, which completes the 5. And again, just basic tile solving. I'm not gonna like go into too much detail about. Like so, up until that point. Now, here's where one of the first splits happens. We can determine things here, we could determine things up here, and we can't determine things here. Let's look at this 10 group clue right now. So in this area, we need 10 groups of tiles. It doesn't matter how many they are, just that we have 10 groups. And how many do we have? We have 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need to add 2 separate groups within this area. 2 more separate groups. And which tiles do add separate groups? If we were to mark this tile, then we have not created a separate group because it's linked up to this one. If we were to mark this tile, then it's linked up to this one. So these 2 tiles do not add more groups in this area. Only these 3 tiles have the possibility of adding groups. And since we have 3 tiles and we need to add 2 separated groups, the only way to do that is to use this tile and this tile. If we were to mark this one, then we can no longer add the 10th group within this area without connecting it up to an existing group. So we have to mark these and then disconnect them from all available other groups. And that completes this area here. And then solve these as normal. We have 3 lines, 3 tiles in this line, so that's done. We can continue here. So here in this line, we need 2 groups. We have 1 group and only 2 more tiles. If we add this tile in, then it's still part of the same group, and we no longer have any way to add a separate group. So we have to disconnect this one and add this tile as the second group in this line. Now here we have 1 group with 1 tile, so we already have 1 group. We could add this tile or remove this tile, we don't know, it's still part of the same group, but we cannot add this tile because then we add a second group, so this has to be removed. I'm gonna get those for the 2 3s, and here the 2 is done. And just solve these normally. And that's about it for this area. So let's go somewhere else. Let's go down here at this point. So here, in this line, we have 1 group with 3 tiles in it. So, in other words, we need a chain of 3. We can't have any gaps between all 3 of the tiles. So, how do we put a chain of 3 in 5 tiles? It's either these 3 tiles, or these 3 tiles, or these 3 tiles. So in all cases, we have to mark the center tile. If we were to remove the center tile, then we only have 2 tiles here and 2 tiles here, and we can't put 3 tiles in 1 group. So that has to be marked. Because of that, we now look at this line, which has 1 group. We don't know how many tiles, but we do know that all tiles that we place in this line have to be part of the same group. So since we have 2 groups with a gap in between, we now have to mark this tile, or they would not be in the same group. And that completes the 3 here, and this 5. And now we look again at the 3 here. We now have 2 tiles. To add the 3rd, we have to mark either this tile or this one, but we can no longer add this tile, so that's gone. And the 4 lets us mark all of these, completing this line. And then 3 here, and 1 here, completing this line. And this 2 is already done. And the 4 here, again, just normal tile solving. And I think that's about it for this area for right now. So let's leave that off and let's go over here again. So here, we need 1 of these 2 tiles for this 3, and we need 4 tiles in this line. We have 1 tile already, so we need 1, 2, and then we have to mark 3 and 4. Now, to continue here, I believe we look at this line with 7 groups. How many groups do we have? We have 1, 2, and 3. We need to add 4 more groups in this area. And how many can we add? We could add a space here, and then, wait, how many did I say? 3, yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we can only just barely fit 7 groups. We have to cut off each and every group at the earliest point, and just stagger them, like so. Which completes this line. And this 3 is now ready to be done, and that 3 is done. The 5 here. And yeah, now we can look at, well, this line is done. Now we look at this 5 area clue, which has 4 tiles already. We need to add 1 more out of these 2, which will in turn complete the 4 here, since it has 3, so this tile cannot be marked. And that gives us a 4, so this tile has to be marked, completing this 5 area clue. This 3 is done. The 2 here lets us mark this tile, completing the 5. And the 2 here is done, and again, just solving tiles like normal, up until that point. This 3 is done, like so, and I believe that's all we can do right here. Yeah, so now we need to expand outward, and where do we do that? I mean, it doesn't really matter, so let's just continue on in the way we were going. So, this line right here needs 3 groups, and it's 5 tiles. And like we said before, 5 divided by 2, 2.5, rounded up, is 3, so the max we can put in are 3 separate groups, and we have to do that, same as the first line that we started this entire puzzle in, or with. Now, this line, we need 2 groups of 4 tiles. We can't say much about this, but we can say that we can't remove the 2 edge tiles here, because if I remove this tile, then we only have 4 tiles left, and we would have to mark all of them, but then we don't have them in 2 groups. And same for this one, if we were to remove this tile, we have 4 here in 1 single group. So we can't remove these 2 edge tiles, they have to be marked. And then to get 2 groups of 4, we have to either remove this tile or this one while marking the other one. But now, we have this 4 area clue with 3 tiles already marked, and as we just said, we need 1 more tile in this line for the 4, which will complete the area clue, so all of the other tiles in this area can be removed. That gives us the 3 here, completing this line, so that's done, and the area is done. Basic tile solving. Shouldn't need to explain this. And then now we can look at, what is it now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, here we go. This line. 5 groups here. We have 1 group, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's done. We can't add any more tiles here. So we remove these 2 tiles. And they get a 4 here. And now we look at these 2 8s here together. So this 8 has 2, 5, 6, 7, and we need 1 more tile out of these 2. This 8 has 4, 5, 6. We need 1 more tile here for this 8 in the shared area. And then we need 1 more tile here for 8 in this for this 3. So 6, 7, and 8, and these tiles cannot be marked. Now we get a 1 here, and we know one of these tiles will be marked, which will complete the 1, so these 3 tiles can't be marked. And now we can just solve some basic tiles. There we go. Now, where do we go from here again? Once again, I think we can split off in either direction, but I guess let's go up here, because this one leads off in the dark unknown, and this one takes us back sort of towards where we've already solved stuff. So, let's look at this line here. We have a line that needs 1 group, but we don't know how many tiles in the line that we need. But here we have 2 2s. So the 2 2s could have 1 tile shared between them, and then we would remove this tile and this tile, which would leave 1 tile for this row, and it's in 1 group, so that would be fine. But what if we do the opposite? If we remove this tile, then these 2 2s will need this tile and this tile marked. But then we have a gap here with 2 tiles, so we can no longer make this 1 group. So the shared tile cannot be removed here, we have to mark it for the 2 2s, and then disconnect it. And now because we've disconnected, we can no longer add any more tile in this row, or it would not be 1 group. Then we get this, and here we just need 1 group of 4 tiles. We have 3 already, so we just have to add in the 4th one and disconnect the final tile. And now I believe we look at this long line here with 5 groups. We have 1 group here, 2 groups here, 3 groups here, and then we can at most add 4 and 5, and we have to do that and disconnect the tiles between them. So now this is done, the 3 here is done, the 1 here is done, this 3, this 2, once again, basic tiles. And that's all we can do here, I believe. Right? Is it? I guess we solve it from here, maybe? Yeah, so let's take a look up here. Right here, we have 5 tiles, and we need to mark 4 of them in 1 chain, in 1 group. So, because of that, we have to use the 3 center tiles, because if we disconnect any of these tiles, we can no longer make a chain of 4. So, these 3 tiles have to be marked, and then 1 of the edge tiles will be marked. And then here, in this line, we need 3 tiles in 1 group, and we've already marked 1 tile, So the earliest point it can start is right here, and it would go 1, 2, and 3. Or if it starts here, it's 1, 2, and 3. So either way, the middle tile, since it's 5 tiles, has to be marked. And this tile can no longer be marked because we can't reach it with the 1 remaining tile. Now, that might be all we can do here, because we can't say anything about this line yet. I think we have to come at this from a different angle. Yeah, I believe that's it. So let's make our way down here instead. Yeah, and we'll look at these lines instead. So right here, we have 3 tiles in one group, and this, I mean, sure, we can just say there's 5 tiles, we need the center tile marked, that's fine, we know that from before, but we can also just look at this 4. This 4 needs 1 of these tiles, but what would happen if we mark this tile? Then the 4 is already done, so we would have to disconnect this tile, but then we are left with a tile here with a gap here, so it's no longer one group. So this tile cannot be marked, we have to remove it, and we have to mark this one in order to get one chain of 3 tiles in this line. And then this needs to be marked for the 3, and then here, same as before, we have 2 groups of 4 tiles. We need to mark the 2 edge tiles here, because if we were to remove this tile now, then we have 4 tiles marked here in just one group, not 2 groups. So the gap has to be one of these 3 tiles here. So that has to be marked, which completes the 2 here, and now gives us the gap so we can mark the remaining tiles here. Now, I believe we look at this one maybe? No, we do not yet. I think we just have to skip ahead and find something else, so let's just jump over. We can do stuff, yeah, here and here, I guess. So, first off here, we'll do this one. We have one group of 3 tiles, but this time it's only 4 tiles, not 5. So, to fit a group, a chain of 3, we either have to place them like this, or like this. So either way, the 2 center tiles have to be marked, and then we use one of the edge tiles to complete the chain. And now here, for this one, we need 2 groups of tiles, and we already have 1 tile here. If we were to mark this tile, then we have still only 1 group, and then no more ability to make a separate group. We could not add this tile, because, I mean, we could, but then it's still 1 group, and this tile would still be 1 group. So this tile cannot be marked, or we're left with only 1 potential group. So we have to disconnect this, and then we have to add this tile to make the second group, because this tile is irrelevant. If this is marked or not, it's still part of the same group. So this one is marked. Now completing this 3, so we can solve these basic tiles, like so. And this line is now done, we have 3 tiles marked. And now I believe we just count on the 7. So the 7 has 4, 5, 6, and then we need 1 tile here. So these 3 tiles have to be disconnected, or removed rather. The 3 here, and this is done, and again, let's do some basic tile solving for as long as we can. And now we just solved this entire area like that. We didn't even need to look at this 5 group clue here. And now we can go either here or down. Let's go here, I guess. Why not? So here, 3 tiles in 1 group. We have 2 tiles already, so we need to maintain the same group, and we need to just add this tile for the 3 chain. This 5 here, let's just mark these tiles, and the 3 here. This line, yeah, this line, we have 2 tiles in, we need 2 groups of 3 tiles. We already have 2 tiles, so we only have to mark 1 more tile out of these 2. But if we were to mark this tile, then the line is done, so we would have to disconnect this tile, but then we have 3 groups of 3 tiles instead of 2. So we can't mark this tile, we have to remove it, and we have to mark this tile. Now, this line has 3 tiles in it. We need 4 tiles total, but they need to be in 2 groups. So we have to use this tile here. If we mark this one, then it's just 4 tiles in 1 group. So we have to disconnect this tile and mark this one, completing this 5. And now we look at this 2 tile here, which has, or 2 line, which has 1 tile, and then this 2 needs 1 more tile here, which will complete this line, so this tile can't be marked. And now, I think we have to just look at this line, maybe? Nope, not quite yet, I don't think. We might need to leave this for a little bit. Let me just think for a second. Yeah, I think we have to just leave this off for now. And we can start looking at this area maybe. Right here, we have 4 tiles in one group with 5 tiles total, which once again means we have to mark all 3 of the center tiles, and then we have to use either this or this edge tile for the chain of 4. And in here, we once again have 5 tiles where we need to mark 3 separate groups, so we know that by now. I shouldn't need to explain it again. This 3 is now done, this 2 is done, and 3 here, and this 3. Again, solve basic tiles as much as you can, while you can. A lot of basic tile solving, not really much to say. And yeah, now this line is done. We could continue on here, but let's go this way because it's easy to say right here. So we have 4 tiles here, but we need to have 2 groups. We only have 1 group, so for this 2, we need to add 1 of these tiles. I mean, this 2 is kind of irrelevant. In this line, we need to add 1 more tile anyway, and we can't add it here because then it's 4 tiles in 1 group. So we disconnect this and add this tile, completing this 3. And I guess we can just look at this one quick. We have 5 tiles, we need 3 tiles in 1 group, so once again, the center tile has to be marked, like we've seen in the past. And yeah, I think that's about it for now. Yeah, we can do stuff here, but yeah, let's do that. Why not? Okay, so right here, this group clue of 2 has 1 group, 2 groups, and then we don't know if we mark more tiles here. We could mark all of these, or we could have only this one. The main point is we can't add this tile and then remove one, because then we make 3 groups, but we can't use either of these 2 tiles because they have no way of joining up to this second group. And we already have 2 groups marked, or begun, rather. So these tiles have to be removed, which now gives us a 1 and a 3, which means for this 3, we can only use 1 of these 2 tiles, so we have to use these 2, and then 1 here, which will complete the 1, so not these 2 tiles. And that looks to be it for right here. Could have sworn I got into this. Oh yeah, right here. I was gonna say, got into this area from this side. Right here. This 7. We have 4, 5, 6, 7. I didn't notice when we got this tile. I could have done that a long time ago. That's what I'm saying about this being kind of a scatterbrained level. It's, you just kind of pick up on a bunch of loose threads all over the place. So yeah, now we get this. This 2 is now done. And like so. And now this 6 area rather, has 3, 4, 5, 6, so all of these tiles are removed. And then basic tile solving, as much as you can. Just keep doing it for as long as you can. Alright, let's just finish up this area to begin with. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then well, actually, let's ignore this and just look at this line here. We need 1 group of 3 tiles, and we only have 3 total tiles, so we have to mark all of them. And now we can look at this one, which has 5, 6, and 7, so this tile can't be marked. And the 5 here needs these 2 tiles, completing this line of 2, and then the 4 here, and the 2 is done. And we didn't need this line here. Well, I guess we did. We used that a little bit. And let's move on in this direction. So right here, 3 tiles in 1 group. We already have that, so this tile is disconnected, and the 2 here is done, and the 1, and the 4. 3 is done, and this 4 needs these 2, and once again, just basic tile solving as much as you can. Until that point, these are done. Now we only have 1 area left, I believe, right over here, yeah. I think that's everything. And how do we begin this one? I think we just look at these group clues here. So yeah, this is a similar thing as we saw before. Here we need 3 groups. We have 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, and these 2 tiles cannot be marked because they are separated from all these groups and would add a 4th group. So they're just gone. But that didn't really help us much, right then and there. So I guess we look at the 6 here. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4 groups. We need to add 2 more groups, and we can only fit in 2 more groups exactly. So we have to mark these tiles and stagger them by 1 removed tile each. Now these 2 ones are done. And that's pretty much it for now. If we look at this tile here, we need 5 groups. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we can't say anything about that quite yet. That's a little later. I think maybe this one. 5 groups here. We have 1 tile, 1 group rather, 2, 3, and we need to add 2 more groups. In here, we can at most add 1 more group by using this tile. If we add this tile, then we don't get another group at all. And in here, we can also only add 1 more group by using 1 or both tiles out of these 2. So we have to use this tile and we have to remove this tile. If we don't remove this tile, then we would only be left with 4 groups in this line. So that has to be removed. This has to be marked. And then now we need 1 or the other or both of these 2. So we can't say that quite yet. But right here, we get a 5 and this 5, and the 3 here is done. This 5, 2 is done, 2 is done, and 3 needs 1 more, completing this 4 and this 4. And now we remove this tile, so once again, for this line we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we need to add this tile as the 5th and final group. Now we finally look at, well, okay, first off we can look at this line, 5 groups, 1 group, 2, 3, 4. If this one is added or not, doesn't matter, it's still 4 groups, but this one needs to be added as the final group. Now we finally look at this area clue with 1 group. So it doesn't matter how many tiles we have, but they all have to be connected in 1 single group. There can't be more than 1 group in this entire area. And right here, we need 1 of these 2 tiles for the 3. If we were to remove this tile and mark this one, then we've disconnected this tile and this tile from the remainder of this 1 group, which would make 2 groups for this area, so that's not possible. We cannot remove this tile, we have to add it, completing the 3 and removing this tile. So now this is done, this 2 here. Now right here, we need no determined number of tiles, but they need to be in 1 group, and we have 2 groups here, so we have to join up the 2 groups to make it just 1 group. The 2 here is complete, the 2 here is complete, and this tile is marked as the final tile. Alright, well, that did take as long as I kind of expected it to, so I suppose that's gonna have to be it for this one. I guess next time we'll do Snake and then some other level. So, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Again, a little scatterbrained, but hopefully you could at least follow the logic in each step. And I'll see you next time, or whenever you next need help with a level. Bye-bye!